to be talking about some innovation funding opportunities today, particularly in the food and drink manufacturing space. So with us having 20 minutes, I'm going to explain a wee bit about who I am, where I can help you, and then I'll talk a little bit on grant funding, R&D, capital allowances, and I'll finish off with the idea of becoming an introducer. So first things first, who am I? Oh, that's actually pretty big, sorry. That was much smaller in the living room. My name's Karen McFadden, and I'm representing all the good Karens out there, so don't think we're all complainers. And I've been in the innovation funding space for about 5 years now. So my job is ultimately to educate companies on funding initiatives, tax incentives that exist in the UK, and then help put you in touch with funding partners that can help you make the relevant claims at the right time. Now, about 5 months ago, I actually launched my own brand called Innovation Insights, because I basically looked at the market and thought there's not really a lot of video content out there that helps companies understand these topics. They can be quite complex. So if you pop onto Innovation Insights at some point, you'll see a sort of knowledge hub there of videos and blogs about these subjects as well, and I'm constantly updating it. Now, it doesn't cost you a penny to talk to me. I'm absolutely free of charge. All I can do is give you my knowledge and expertise in these subjects and help to put you in front of relevant companies that can help you make the claims. So let's get right into the first one. Now, I just want to play a quick game here. Could you raise your hand if you are actively making R&D tax claims either through your accountant or a third-party specialist? If you've made R&D claims or made them in the past, made them now. Okay, super. Now, the partners that you're working with, have they made you aware of these recent funding pots over the last couple of weeks and months?
Awesome.
If they haven't, unfortunately, you've missed out on lots and lots of money. Okay. Now, research and development and grant funding, they really, really go hand in hand. Okay, they're so complementary of one another. Therefore, you really should be working with funding experts that are educating you on all types of incentives available to you, not just R&D. Now, the UK government have basically they've identified that there's a massive problem with obesity in the UK. And they are proactively throwing money at companies trying to improve that problem, trying to fix that problem, reduce the obesity issue. So if you have a look at Better Food for All, for example, that was £17.4 million, split between 47 companies. Let's just hypothetically say that everybody got the same amount of money each, right? So that's around £370,000 each. That pot, the criteria to claim, was literally taking everyday food products and making them better, okay? So I'd imagine that most people sitting here are involved in that space one way or another. Now, in the grant space, it's a big, big topic, and of course we only have 20 minutes, so I'm going to just dive into a couple of things that should be useful for you to know, a few insights. The first piece of advice I'll give you is to start getting connected with the right people, okay? And start following funding specialists, companies that are there to give you advice and knowledge on a number of cost funding opportunities. Easy ways to do that would be start following our websites, signing up to our newsletters, joining our webinars, coming along to talks like this, because grants, they're not open for very long. So you really need to get educated on what's expected to make an application so that you can get it shipped off within time and you don't miss out. So yeah, a few things really that you want to ask yourself if you're going to go for grant funding would be these 3 questions up on screen. So first of all, you want to make sure it's worth your time going through this application, because it's a lot more intense than making an R&D claim. First off, you want to ask yourself, is what I'm developing truly new, innovative, disruptive? Okay? Because don't forget, this is taxpayers' money that you're applying for. So what you're doing really needs to be pretty revolutionary in your space. Then you need to be addressing a need or a challenge. So basically, if you tell me your idea and I type it into Google and 10 other solutions come up, well, you're not really addressing a need or challenge that isn't already being addressed. It needs to be something that isn't, like a gap in the market right now. And essentially, you need to be making money off it. So me as a consumer, would I leave who I'm using right now and come to you because your product is 10 times better? Those are the kind of questions that you want to be asking. And if you're answering yes to them, then again, my advice is get connected to the right people, start learning more about funding pots so you don't miss out on the upcoming opportunities. Now, a couple more things I'll give you insights on, and it's really just to give you some food for thought to go away and have a think on. I'm going to talk a wee bit on costs. Now, in my line of work, working with R&D experts, capital allowances experts, they don't like to actually tell you about costs or talk about money, unfortunately. But I find it a really important topic. So I want to highlight just the difference between R&D and funding. Now, with an R&D claim, typically it's a no-win, no-fee, right? So you'll take a cut, your expert will take a cut as well. When it comes to making an application for funding, it's very different. So unless you're doing it yourself, which won't cost you a penny, if you go through an expert, you will be expected to pay for, one, the narrative of the report, and depending on the pot, that could be anywhere between £3,000 to £10,000. And then you'll be expected to pay a win fee, a percentage of the win. So again, that might be anywhere between, say, 5 to 10%. So if we go back to the better food for all example in the slide before, let's say it's £370,000 that everyone got. Let's break it down and say, okay, I'm the company that won that. I paid £10,000 for my report to be written. And then let's say I paid 10% for the win fee, so 37 grand. 37 plus 10, 47. Let's round it up and say 50k, roughly. I paid my expert to work with them and then go for the funding. Well, I've walked away with £320,000. So it's a pretty good win. And it's just really good to kind of go through that math when thinking, oh God, 10 grand up front. Well, I don't think I could, I don't know if it's worth it. This is where you want to get educated. A few other expectations and things to be aware of. So timelines. When it comes to making an R&D claim, you might have finished your tax year and then say, oh, do you know what, our accounts aren't going to be ready for a number of months, so we don't need to get going on this yet. Absolutely fine. When it comes to funding, however, these move fast. And I would say in my experience, some of these pots can open and close within 4, 5, 6 weeks. And that's the time you need to actually get your application written and shipped off. Because this is far more intense and involved than just a 2-hour chat with an R&D expert. Okay. So just be aware of those timelines. And this is again going back to my get connected and get prepared example where I'm saying the more that you can learn about how much it's going to cost you, the more you can learn about how much time's involved, the more you can learn about the steps ahead of time, when the perfect pot comes along, you're ready to hit the ground running. Okay. And finally, the level of involvement is quite interesting to know about because, again, in my line of work, I've worked with companies that are brand new to this topic. So it may be that they need an expert to look for the pots, write the narrative, project manage the money after it comes in. That's fine. Experts can do that. On the other hand, it may be that actually you are a well-versed company when it comes to this topic and you are successful already with making applications in-house. But for whatever reason, you've decided that it's taken up maybe too much time, or you just don't have the resources to put towards it anymore, or perhaps maybe you're looking for a third party to actively go out there and look for the pots and bring the ideas to you, etc. So again, you could have that level of involvement. And one of my partners in particular that I work with behind the scenes actually offer a review opportunity, which is where companies that are well versed in this ultimately continue to write their applications themselves in-house, but they like an expert to look over it and give it a once-over review. So that is a sort of USP from one of them. So I just wanted to highlight a few insights into innovation funding, food for thought for you to go away and bear in mind. But of course I have mentioned that it is hand in hand with research and development. So I'm going to go through just a very high overview on this topic because I never assume that everybody in the room knows about this. So what exactly is it? It's basically an incentive and it's to encourage UK limited companies to innovate in their field. Okay, take technology and science and push it to the next stages. Now, HMRC's definition of it is you have to be finding, using or creating an advance in the field of science or technology. When I speak to Aboriginal companies, essentially I'm explaining it to them where I'm saying it's just looking at the solutions in your industry, looking at the answers right now from a science and tech perspective, and what are you doing to advance them? What are you doing to push those solutions forward? Now, Very quickly, it's only applicable to limited companies because, as I said, it's to do with your corporation tax liability. You can go back to full tax years for the time being. And typically you enjoy the benefit in one of three ways. So you're either going to get a reduced corporation tax liability, you will get a cash injection, or it may be that with the CT rates changing, you're going to have a really hefty bill next year and you want to offset it until then. I don't have time to go into R&D as a webinar today, so I'm going to put you in the shoes of HMRC agents. I'm sure people who are in this space right now have been aware that the number of investigations have went sky high with this topic. So I'm going to show you essentially what they look at when they read a report. Now, as a specialist, what we have to do is highlight these 4 points to an agent because there's no guarantee that the person reading your report is an expert in your space, okay? So first of all, we need to highlight what is the benchmark of your industry when you came up with this idea, okay? What were the current solutions and answers out there as it stood? Then, of course, you have to advance them. You have to push them past their capability and their knowledge as it is. So what have you done? Have you produced a new product? Have you significantly improved a process? Have you replicated a patent? What exactly is it you've done to advance your space? Then the big one, technological uncertainty. Now, imagine you're taking solutions that exist right now and you are trying to make them better somehow, whatever the angle is.
Right.
Really and truly, you shouldn't be confident that you're going to get the end result immediately. Because if you're pushing technology beyond its capability or its means, well, you shouldn't have a guarantee that the objective you've set out, you're going to meet. And typically, you won't meet it, or you've got doubt around meeting it because you've experienced activities like this. Trialing, testing, experimentation, feasibility studies, tests, etc. So this is what we have to highlight to Revenue and Customs. And then finally, we need to make sure that the experts that we put in throughout your claim are the competent professionals, okay? So it can't be your sales guys, it can't be your marketing team that come up with these ideas. It needs to be competent experts that know your industry inside and out and can vouch that this is true R&D that you're doing and you're not just using off-the-shelf solutions. Now, I'm not going to go through every single thing up here on the screen. I will share these with anyone who wants to get in touch afterwards. But this is just giving you an idea of what typical R&D activity looks like in the food and drink space.
See that,
Now, if you're looking at that and you're thinking, yep, new product development, advanced trial and testing, tackling waste, reducing carbon emissions, improving the economy, and that's all stuff that we do, well, you should have been applying for those funding pots. You should have been in with a chance with those. So again, it's just going back to making sure that you're getting kept up to date with all of these topics.
Absolutely.
Now, this is a topic that you would never associate as closely related to R&D, but I always want to talk about it at these events because 5 years ago when I learned about this, I thought it was the most boring subject ever. Tax, buildings, it was explained to me in a very accountancy jargon way until I spoke to the sales team, and I'm going to pitch it to you the same way they explained it to me. Capital Allowances tax relief is ultimately an incentive for UK commercial property owners or tenants who fit out their buildings. So let's say it's an empty shell and they've transformed it into a functioning space. Now, it's typically maximised by an accountant and a capital allowances specialist, okay? And the reason being is if you take your building, tip it upside down and shake it, there's going to be a bunch of things that will fall out of it. And these things typically come with a receipt or an invoice. Right? Things that you would forward to your accountant and they'll make a claim. Have text them. The things that don't fall out of the building, right? What us specialists refer to as embedded plant and machinery, are things like this. Now, if you buy, let's just say, a factory for £1 million, it's going to be really difficult for your accountant to figure out of that £1 million, how much the plumbing's worth, how much the HVAC systems are worth, how much the toilets are worth. And so that's where they bring a capital allowances specialist in to put a value next to those items.
So do it whatever.
And with this incentive, typically you would maximise from doing it if you're in a profit-making position because it works different to R&D. It's not like you get a cash injection. It's a reduction from your corporation tax liability. However, there is a loophole. If you are doing an R&D claim and you're a loss-making company and you are in this position, then ultimately what happens is by doing a capital allowances claim, it enhances your loss.
Simulating.
So you get to win on both front. And I always highlight it at my events because too many property owners are missing out on it. Again, let's say you're a tenant and you've spent £1 million refurbishing the building. Out of that £1 million, your invoice might just say £1 million construction works, building works. Okay, so you really want to make sure that you start introducing a capital allowances specialist to your accountant for them to have a chat. Now, there's probably going to be some people in the audience who don't own a company that's doing something innovative, but maybe you work with them. So perhaps you're a consultant, perhaps you're an accountant, whatever it may be. You really should be bringing these opportunities to your clients, okay? Because it's simply bringing knowledge to them that perhaps they aren't aware of. And if they win from it, if they get some sort of money or funding from it, then they're going to love you even more because you brought it to their attention, okay? So just a quick example of a number of, introducers. They can come from a number of different avenues, but an accountant might bring a bakery contact to myself. And that bakery contact, we can do an R&D tax claim for them. And it turns out that they get 50 grand, right? So let's say they're on a 70-30 split with their R&D provider. The client gets 35k, the R&D provider gets 15k, and the accountant who introduced them to me gets 5% of whatever the R&D guys need. So £750, literally just for doing a really good job and bringing these incentives to their clients. So really that is all I wanted to cover today. The main point that I wanted to get out is really just to start getting connected with the right people. I've put a QR code up there to sign up to the Innovation Insights newsletter. I share content maybe 2 times a month. If I'm doing a webinar, it'll be 3 times. And it's really just to help you understand and keep up to date with the latest opportunities, because you never know. There might be a video one day that you catch. There might be a webinar that you join where actually it's the perfect person to be put in front of at the perfect time. So I hope that was useful to you, and sorry for the delay. It certainly didn't help my nerves. But enjoy the rest of your day, and I will be around if you have any questions. Thanks.